Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. Today, we're discussing doing business with the Bay Area Rapid Transit, or BART. My name is Amanda Anderson. I'm the program coordinator for Norcal APEX Accelerator. And today, I'm joined by two fantastic representatives from BART, Alexi Chacon, apologies, and Devika Anand. They're amazing, and they're going to be an absolutely fantastic resource for you today and give you so much information. But before I pass it off to them for the main presentation, I want to let you know a little bit about Apex Accelerators and how they can help you no matter where you are. So the Apex Accelerator program is a nationwide network of resource centers just like ours that are funded by the government to help you do government contracting, to help you with anything from getting your initial certifications and registrations and vendor database, to helping you figure out what you need to comply with that first contract that you won. We do essentially cradle to grave assistance in government contracting at absolutely no cost to you. And as you can see on the colorful map on the screen, there are quite a few different centers. So how do you know which one to connect with? Well, we are divided up by location. So for NorCal Apex Accelerator, we cover the northern coastal counties of California. And we help them with government contracting through three main resources that we offer. First, we offer one-on-one counseling, where once you sign up with us as a client, you can go ahead and get paired with a procurement specialist who's been working in government procurement for years, whether they've been securing those contracts and earning them and winning them. But we also have a lot of expertise on the other side. We have former contracting officers for the federal and state government agencies that have those contracts. So we have a fantastic amount of experience that you can get access to for one-on-one counseling, where you sit in on a Zoom meeting, very similar to this, and you can go through any of the hiccups or hurdles you're experiencing with government contracting with a knowledgeable professional who can advise and help you kind of work through those challenges to find your success. Our second resource that we offer to our clients is our custom bid matching program. Now, this is a little bit of a gold star for our program, as this is a software we actively pay for and offer to our clients at no cost because it is just an amazing resource. So what this does is this allows you to set down criteria with your counselor based on what location you want to perform work in, what you sell or service. And this software that we pay for will scour federal, state, and local contracting sites for opportunities that meet that criteria you set down. So this service will allow you to get opportunities relevant to you, opportunities that you can perform on, that you could win directly to your inbox. And that takes a lot of the guesswork out of government contracting because especially at the local level and sometimes at the state, it can be kind of difficult to find these relevant opportunities. So this custom bid matching is an absolute boon to our clients. And our third resource is our resources and training, which you're actually taking advantage of right now. We put webinars on throughout the year. We do about 2 to 4 a month our own, as well as participating in other partner events. So you'll see us out and about for sure. And these are offered to everyone at absolutely no cost. So I saw a couple people, someone's from Arizona. I know I saw a couple other people from Texas. I've seen folks from Georgia. I've gotten calls from New York. We offer so many webinars and resources that anyone can take advantage of. So why not take advantage of them? They're absolutely free, doesn't require any kind of client application, no qualifications. And another thing in that similar vein is our website. I Our team is absolutely enthralled with our website because there is just so many resources on there. We have pages for local contracting and finding all of those vendor sites. We have pages for federal certifications to make sure you're putting your best foot forward for those contracts. So if you haven't had a chance to check out our website, you can find not only other webinars, but a ton of resources that you can use, whether you're a client of ours or not. But if you want to take advantage of that one-on-one counseling, possibly that custom bid matching, sign up for our services if you're in our service area. But if you're not within those counties in Northern California, not to worry at all. Like I said, it's a network that is nationwide. So again, you'll be getting these slides and you'll see that link at the bottom, the aptech-us.org. That link is where you can find your local APEX Accelerator, the ones who can give you that one-on-one counseling, and you can connect directly with them. So with that, before I pass it off, I do want to let you know a little bit of a disclosure as we do record this event. The information provided herein is accurate to the best of the presenter's ability at the time of this presentation, and it is December 7th of 2023. Some or all of the provisions mentioned herein could or may be changed by the current administration, with or without prior notice. So with that disclosure out of the way, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Alexi.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Amanda. We're so excited to be here with you today to talk about our equity programs here at BART and providing you the information that you need in order to set yourself up for success when it comes to winning work with BART. Next slide, please. So I'll just do a quick introduction of myself and then hand it over to Devika. So as Amanda mentioned, my name's Alexi. I work in the Office of Civil Rights here at BART. My main role is helping out with outreach, making sure that we're spreading the word on our equity programs, making sure that we're answering any questions that small business owners might have and getting looped into the resources that we provide. And I also work on the data analytics to make sure that the way that we administer and implement our equity programs is actually leading to small business participation across our different agreements and contracts. I'll hand it over to Devika quickly for an intro.
Thank you, Alexi. Hi, everyone. My name is Devika, and I'm also a senior administrative analyst with Bay Area Rapid Transit. I'm also part of the performance and data analytics team. And today I will be going over some of the certification programs and how to apply to those that will help you be successful in order to get certified. Thank you.
Great. Next slide, please. So a quick agenda. We just did intros. Devika will talk more about our economic opportunity programs and the different certifications that are available for you to apply for in order to participate in those programs. And I'll talk about upcoming contracting opportunities and some tips and tricks for submitting a submission to a request for proposal for professional service agreements. And then we'll end with the Q&A. Next slide, please. Great. So here over at BART, we understand that small business owners are really the backbone of the local economy because they focus on ingenuity, risk-taking, and a unique set of skills that are needed to succeed. We also understand that in order for BART to be a community-oriented rapid transit system, it has to be supported by the small business community. And it's a collaborative experience, making sure that we're stronger by including more small businesses in our advancement. Next slide, please. So in order to achieve that mission, as an Office of Civil Rights, we make sure that we alert you to upcoming contracting opportunities, and we want to make sure that we can promote transparency in our procurement process by really cutting through some of the bureaucracy. And then we're also making sure that we advocate for a level playing field through our equity programs. The way that we monitor our success, the metric that we hold ourselves accountable to, is if we are able to increase the number of small businesses that participate in our procurement process, then we know that our work is successful. Next slide, please. And I wanted to emphasize the breadth of work that's really available at BART. So in 2022, we awarded $444 million in contracts and agreements. And they really fall into three main buckets of work. We have professional services, procurement, and construction. And what you can see here is that the overwhelming majority of awarded contracts and agreements fall under professional services. So that means that there is an opportunity for all different ranges of small businesses to work with BART and to get that foot in the door. Next slide, please. So now I'll hand it over to Devika to really delve into the specifics of our economic opportunity programs.
Thank you, Alexi. So I'll go over the programs. The DBE program, which is a federal program, it's a program. The certification provides both race and gender conscious and neutral strategies to help DBEs gain opportunities at BART on USDOT, which is Department of Transportation funded contracts. This helps you in establishing contracts, specified DBE goals, also facilitating outreach and enhancing opportunities for small businesses and micro small businesses as well. Next slide, please. So our equity programs were implemented primarily through contract goals. The contract goals ensure that a certain percentage of an individual's contract is subcontracted to small businesses and minority-owned businesses. And businesses are only eligible to count towards contract goals if they have appropriate certification. So always good to get certified as DBEs or other certification programs that we offer, which actually help you towards getting contracts goals. Next slide, please. The DBE program, which is the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification Program, is for profit small businesses. The firms must be at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more of socially economically disadvantaged individuals. The business operations must be controlled by one or more of socially and economically disadvantaged individuals whose net worth must be less than 1.32 million, and company's average gross annual revenue during the prior 3 years must be less than 23.98 billion, or the small business administration standards, whichever is lower. In order to count towards, you must be the SBE goals, you must be certified at the time of bid or proposal submission date. So always good to get DBE certified. The process takes 90 days for us to review. So you can always submit your DBE applications and we can review it. Next slide, please. The small business entity certification must be at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more individuals whose personal net worth does not exceed 1.32 million. And the size standards for small business administration varies. For example, like engineering should not exceed 15 million, architecture 7.5 million, trade 15 million, and heavy civil construction cap is 23.98 million. The DBEs certified by California Unified Certification Program, SBEs, which are small business entity. And small business entity who are not certified DBEs must be certified by BART. Small business certified by other agencies must also be certified by BART. And all small business entities are certified by BART are SBEs. SBEs must be certified at the time of bid or proposal submission date to be counted towards SBE goals, similar to the disadvantaged business entity enterprise certifications. Next slide. The micro small business certifications are SBE certified by BART, whose gross receipts over the period of 3 fiscal years must not exceed 10 million for construction, 6 million for professional services, and 6 million for procurement contracts. Micro small business entities have set aside like specific contracts which certified MSBEs have exclusive rights to. And these are values should not exceed 3 million for construction or procurement contracts and 6 million for professional services. Next slide, please. The small business program provides preference to small business prime bidders of up to 5%. Subcontracting goal provides 5% for prime bidders who meet the small business subcontractor participation goals. The Measure RR, which was passed in 2016, one for 3.5 million RR funded contracts for small business preference applies to local small businesses, and they must be located within Alameda County, Contra Costa, and San Francisco counties. The 5% is based on the lowest responsible bidder's bid, and the non-discrimination program seeks to ensure that prime contractors do not discriminate against their selection of subcontractors. The program applies to state and locally funded contracts in all procurement categories. Next slide. So the Measure RR bond, as we discussed earlier, it's a 3.5 million measure that was passed in 2016. It was passed in order to improve BART's aging transit infrastructure and some of the categories where it was to repair and replace critical safety infrastructures, which 3.163 billion was allocated. And then also to relieve passenger crowding, reduce congestion, and expand business opportunities to safely access stations, about 335 million. So total 3.5 billion on Measure RR bonds to local small businesses. Next slide. So local small business verification can be completed. In order to be verified, you could complete the verification request form, which is available online. And you can always include your DGS certification number, which is Department of General Services, with the address in the database that must be located within the 3 counties, Alameda, Contra Costa, and San Francisco. And either you could be also listed on Alameda County's small business and emerging local small business as a local small business in Alameda County, City of Oakland, and City and County of San Francisco's local small business. You could also, in order to get verified, you could also submit your 3 documents, which are a business license. The business license will show your address, which is located within the 3 counties. You could also you can submit your real estate property tax assessment or lease agreement, which shows your address, and then also forms most recent federal tax requirement Schedule C with financial information blocked out, if you prefer. Once you submit all those documents, we could, verify your local small business within those 3 counties, and then we can go from there. Next slide, please. Other certifications for non-federal programs. Small business firms are certified by California Department of General Services. You can find this information on the DGS website. The local small business certification must be located within the 3 counties, as we mentioned, Alameda County, Contra Costa, and San Francisco. And then we can verify. And then other non-federal economic programs include LGBT and veteran business enterprise, disabled veterans. So you could, if you fall in any of those categories, you can always get certified, submit your application, and then we can review it. Next slide. Thank you. And then I'll pass it on. to Alexi.
Thank you, Devika. Just want to emphasize that was a lot of information on certifications. I think the most important takeaway is that it does not hurt to apply for a certification. It can only help you. So please look through the eligibility criteria of these different verifications and certifications so that you can get a leg up as you apply and submit to our request for proposals and open bids. So the way that you can learn a lot about our upcoming work and opportunities that may be relevant to you is for you to register for an account on our BART procurement portal. So on our procurement portal, you're able to create a bidder profile, you're able to receive and download active solicitations, you're able to receive email notifications on upcoming solicitations, and then you're also able to access relevant info throughout the solicitation process. Next slide, please. So here's just a screenshot of what our procurement portal looks like. Since these slides will be distributed afterwards, at the bottom of this slide, I've hyperlinked our procurement portal. So you can just click on that and make an account. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see bidder action links. And so that's where you'll be able to see active solicitations, bids received, and you'll also be able to see awarded solicitations. And that's really important as well, because you'll get a sense of which primes have been awarded work at BART, and that can also be a valuable resource in terms of learning which primes you would want to establish relationships with if you're a small business looking to be included as a subcontractor. Next slide, please. Additionally, apart from the active solicitations that are displayed on our procurement portal, earlier in the process, there is a list of upcoming contracts and upcoming scopes of work. So in order to look at our upcoming contracts, you'll just navigate to BART.gov, and you'll eventually navigate to the tab called A Look Ahead, Upcoming Procurements. So I have those steps listed out there. And then in the appendix of this presentation, I have some visuals that will guide you to that upcoming contracts tab. It's really useful. It's consistently updated. And I have pulled some upcoming contracts that are displayed later in this presentation. Something that's really important is, apart from describing the upcoming work, there will also be a proposed advertisement date and contact information. So that contact information is really key if you have any questions or if you want to learn more about that specific contract or agreement. Great. Next slide, please. Additionally, this month we're reviewing some vendor portal updates, for example, and these vendor portal updates really apply mainly to suppliers. And so we're really enhancing our interaction and engagement with electronic bidding opportunities for inventory materials. Now suppliers are able to view their own POs, receipts, invoices, and payments. Suppliers can now create PO acknowledgements, advanced shipment notifications, and suppliers can update their own supplier addresses and contacts. So really, we're looking to consistently increase the functionality of our vendor portal, making it as valuable as possible to folks who make a profile, and to ensure that we make the procurement process as accessible and as frictionless as possible. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to pivot into professional service agreements and tips and tricks when you submit a response to a request for proposal. So just wanted to go over the structure of a request for proposal and agreement. The first section lists out the submittal requirements and then also looks at the evaluation criteria. And then the second section is a sample agreement, which is a preview of what you would be asked to sign if you were awarded the professional service agreement. And as you review that sample agreement, it's important to read through and identify any potential exceptions you may ask for to the terms. And so you want to get those questions in early to determine if those exceptions to the agreement terms are feasible. And then as you move through the process, making sure that you're not putting in too many exceptions, because there have been cases where excessive exceptions have been deemed, have categorized a proposal as non-responsive. Additionally, during this segment of the process, a conflict of interest review process is being revised, formalized with the board this month, and it's supposed to be able to flag any potential conflicts earlier in the process than has been done before. So when we look at the submissions that were submitted in response to a request for proposal, there are different types of evaluations that are applied. There's qualifications based, so architectural and engineering services will stick to those more rigid qualifications. There's the best value evaluation, and the way we do that is we do an open scoring system in which the price that you suggest for your services is really only a factor in scoring and not the final determination. So in this particular process, the lowest value submission isn't necessarily always going to be the winner. And then we have pass, fail, lowest priced. So there's a pass or fail evaluation criteria applied to the submissions, and then those submissions that really get through that first segment of passing the evaluation criteria, that pool of submissions are then evaluated on lowest price. Okay, next slide, please. So some key reminders when you're submitting your proposals: make sure to sign all exhibits. I know that seems like a very obvious detail, but sometimes those details fall through the cracks in this process and can delay the review of your submission, which is not what you want. When you get to the part with the minority-owned business and women-owned business enterprise form, do not leave it blank. List NA at a minimum. Again, that will just create some friction in the process and some delay in review until it's either completed or listed as NA. We want to make sure you acknowledge all addenda on the pricing form. Please organize your proposal in the order listed in the RFP. That just makes it easier for us to review. And make sure that you factor in the cost of required insurance into your price proposal. We want to make sure that if you are awarded the agreement and you move forward in the process, that the costs of insurance don't become a burden because they weren't initially priced into your proposal. And if you aren't sure about a requirement, please ask your questions early. I want to make sure that we're getting across that we're a resource to you, that there are different folks at BART in different departments who are here to clear up the bureaucracy and answer any questions you may have. Next slide, please. And so now I'm just going to go over some upcoming scopes of work. I would say that this work is not advertised on the upcoming contracts page, but that it will eventually be advertised. The estimate is a year. I would say, of course, anything is subject to change. Things get pushed or delayed without notice, but this is what is said to be coming up the pipeline. So we'll be looking for workers' compensation insurance services, which include medical case management, utilization and bill review, and third-party claims administration. We'll be looking for medical consulting services, district-wide relamping services, third-party loan administration for affordable housing loans, and then construction management A&E services. At this point in time with this upcoming work, this is as much detail as we have in terms of what the upcoming scopes of work will be defined as. But of course, please tune in to future outreach events, and as we get more information, we'll continuously update this slide. Next slide, please. And so I just wanted to pull up some upcoming service agreements, since that is the majority of our awarded contracts at the current moment. And I also wanted to give an example of what the upcoming contracts look like on that page on BART.gov. So as I mentioned before, you'll have a title that describes the scope of work with projected advertisement dates. And it's that point of contact that will be really critical in answering any further questions you have. But as you can see, we have a wide breadth of work within our professional services agreements, whether it be revenue collection services or electric vehicle charging stations. Next slide, please. And this is the complete list of upcoming construction contracts are also posted on that same page. And I think what we can get from this is that it does tie to what Devika was talking about earlier about Measure RR, system modernization, infrastructure improvement. This is the type of construction work that we're pursuing right now. And you can see that reflected here on our upcoming contracts page. For example, the Coliseum Station elevator modernization. Next slide, please. So that wraps up our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. We hope this was valuable to you, and we're open to any questions.
Fantastic. And we do have a couple questions, but this will be just a friendly reminder. If you all have questions for Alexi or Devika about how you can earn your first contract with BART, now is the time. Just make sure you're entering them into the Q&A section so we can make sure that they get answered. So our first question comes from Wesley. He's a part of a Black-led 501c3 that's operating out of Richmond Transit Center called CoBiz Richmond. He's wondering how a nonprofit could do business with BART. Are there opportunities there?
I would say that from my understanding, the main opportunities that come with collaborating with nonprofits is participating in small business outreach events such as this. So like making sure that the nonprofit provides that platform where we're able to continue to teach more about our equity programs and upcoming work. But if you do not fit the criteria listed out within the different certifications talked about today, then I'm not sure if there is a pathway towards participating in equity programs in that way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is quite rare to have nonprofits find success in government contracting. So very much is currently tailored to like for-profit businesses. But he did mention that they have event space, which may be a good connect for those training events. But thank you so much for asking that question, Leslie. It's a very good clarification on that point. And then Marvin was wondering, how quickly does BART typically pay its contractors?
Sure. So we have prompt payment mechanisms in place with our agreements and contracts. And that timeline is when a small business submits its invoice to the prime, there's a ticking clock that starts, and the prime is required to pay the small business within 30 days of receiving that invoice.
Beautiful. So if you're subcontracting on a BART contract, it should be that 30 days. And then Anna was wondering, if you're a small business but do not qualify for any certifications, do you think they'll find success in contracting with you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think the main way to see if there are any opportunities relevant to you is to continue checking our upcoming contracts page, making an account on the vendor portal. And through that, you'll be able to see those active solicitations that are relevant to your scope of work. If you do not apply for those or if you're not eligible for those certifications, I would say then the understanding is you have the resources to be successful in a BART contract and don't need that extra support that we're providing to smaller businesses. And so we still would appreciate your work.
Absolutely. And then we had a question about the DVE certification. Are your family assets included in your qualification, or is it for the owner individually? when it comes to the asset and kind of that financial part of the DBE certification?
For the DBE certification, if you are applying, so you must provide your federal tax return documents and your personal net worth statements in order for us to review. And that, so if you're listed as an owner, 51% owner, you must be socially and economically disadvantaged. So you have to provide your personal net worth statements for us to review.
Yeah. And I think a distinction I've heard around the office, and I do want to preface, I'm not a procurement counselor. I definitely don't have all of the knowledge or expertise. But my understanding is with DBE, if you're married, you would provide your spouse's information, but maybe not your extended family who may have like a nice little nest egg.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So if whoever's listed as an owner on the DBE application, so you must provide for all those, everyone that's listed out there.
Perfect. Yeah, the DBE can be a little bit confusing, especially to me without that knowledge, but we actually have some fantastic staff on sites who can help you figure out that DBE certification. All right, and the next question, Catherine is interested in electrician work. It seems like they're minority and women owned 100%. What kind of, they're asking how can they get more help getting certified aside from Apex Accelerator? I'll toot that horn all day. Apex Accelerator is the go-to for certification help, but BART is also a resource as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, and Davika, correct me if I'm wrong, that any questions you have regarding certification applications, you can email Davika directly and we'll take it from there. But also on our website, we have on BART.gov under the Office of Civil Rights and Doing Business with BART, we do have links to the certification applications, FAQs, and resources you would need to get started. So definitely take a look on that website first. Read through it, and then email if you have any further questions about the application process.
If you have any questions, email. You can also call us. Our department email is ocrcertifications@bart.gov, which we monitor daily. So feel free to send your questions regarding certification programs to us.
Fantastic. And then Judson Thomas, it looks like they're asking if you include hub zone businesses in the qualifications for a small disadvantaged business. And hub zone is a federal certification based on location, not the actual owner, like most of the other certifications.
I would say that we do not utilize that type of rating or federal certification.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. That's good clarification. Good to know. And as a little note for you, Judson, the hub zone map did just update this year, so make sure you're keeping that updated in your mind as well. Cecile as asking, does BART consider proposals that don't easily fall into any of the categories stated? For example, they provide small hardware that can sanitize surface areas.
Yeah, so what I would say is we don't currently accept like pitches, for a small business to pitch their services or product to BART. However, I wouldn't ever rule out that we wouldn't need a product or service that can sanitize surface areas. So my main pieces of advice is to consistently check the vendor procurement portal and then to also look at upcoming contracts. In case that there is a need for that type of work. If we have a need for it, it'll show up there.
Absolutely. And you could also look at other agencies too. I know a lot of other agencies may be a little bit more of a priority to have those surface areas sanitized. So maybe not quite with BART, but there's definitely room out there for you somewhere. All right. And then Samir was asking, my business manufactures rubber, metal, and plastic components. For items like this, do you know if BART would supply samples of the items they're trying to source so they can properly bid on them?
I would say that if there was a procurement agreement or procurement contract where we needed those types of components, or construction contract, I suppose, but you would reach out to that point of contact to have that question. I'm assuming that that type of request is very much context dependent on the contract being awarded. So I couldn't say for sure today, but if you check those upcoming contracts page and find that point of contact, you'll definitely get further information if that opportunity arises.
Absolutely. And that's actually a hurdle I hear about often in the Apex Accelerator office is should they contact the contracting officer? Should they like leave them be? Like my understanding is the contracting officer is there to answer questions, but not quite give advice on how to submit the best proposal. There's a fine line of how much that they can offer information. So that definitely seems like a question you could ask them, but it's very unknown on if they'll be able to provide samples. Fantastic. And then we have a question, is any owner in the name of an LLC or an S Corp not allowed for certification?
Davika, do you happen to have any clarification on that?
If I don't have any clarification, basically you could submit your certification application and then we will review. I know a lot of LLCs also apply for certifications and S Corps. So just submit your application. If you are one of the owners, we will, like we mentioned before, we will review your application, your federal tax return documents, and your personal net worth statements, and all the required documents to see if you fall in that category for certification that you're applying to.
Absolutely. And you can also connect with your local Apex Accelerator and they can kind of help you figure out these fine details of, do I actually qualify for this certification? Is it going to be worth putting in the time and effort if I don't qualify? That's often what our counselors help our clients with, is figuring out what certifications you qualify for and then helping you apply for the ones that do. A lot of time can be wasted if you apply for all of them, so having that expertise in your corner can be very beneficial. All right, and it looks like that's all for the Q&A section. I did see a couple questions in chat that I will find. So we do have questions in chat. Do you have opportunities for food service, vending services, or like beverages and snacks?
I would say that if we had larger contracts that required that need, they would be advertised on those two resources, our procurement portal and upcoming contracts. I know that for like smaller contracts, MDDs, we're still figuring out process to make those opportunities as accessible as possible to small businesses. MDDs are those contracts that are like under $100,000. But as of now, the two resources I just mentioned are the best way to learn about those opportunities.
Fantastic. And we did have another question about possible procurement opportunities. Gladys was wondering, is there a pathway for consulting strategies, project and change management contracts?
In the two resources I mentioned earlier, it would be listed under professional services agreements in terms of whether we would have a need for that type of consulting services. So just consistently check back there. Beyond that, there is no established pathway specifically for consulting.
Perfect. And with that, that is all of the questions we have for now. So we'll go ahead and preview the appendix. So it looks like we got some good information about the economic opportunity programs, finding current and upcoming contracts, which is going to be definitely, hopefully, a bookmark on all of your web browsers, because that's a very important page to find these opportunities. and a lot to go through. I do want to remind folks, thank you all so much for joining us, and you will be getting these slides so you can go through all of these appendices. And even I would maybe take out these slides if you're planning on bidding on a BART contract anytime soon. There are some great tips and tricks, and they can help you find those solicitations, those opportunities for your business. So before we kind of wrap up the event, I do want to let everybody know about some more webinar trainings that we have. Next Thursday, I will be hosting a How to Do Business with the Government event, which is our very baseline entry level, this is government contracting event. It has so much valuable information just to get all your ducks in a row before you begin jumping into what is government contracting. And so that'll be next Thursday, and that'll be our last event for 2023. But when we do come back in January, we'll be having DGS with us for a How to Do Business with the State of California event, giving you the nitty-gritty details of Cal eProcure and doing business with state agencies like BART. But if that is not enough trainings, we do have more. As an APEX Accelerator client, you get access to Govology, which is a fantastic webinar resource library. Essentially, they put on both live webinars as well as have a ton of on-demand webinars that you can access as an APEX Accelerator client for absolutely free. So that's something you can absolutely take advantage of. Once you become a client, we'll send you out a code and you can continue learning, even if we aren't putting on webinars, there's always an opportunity to learn. And with that, that is the end of our presentation. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. We always adore these events, and I do want to let you know, when you exit out of this webinar, you'll be redirected to our feedback survey. Now, this is a very brief survey, and it's very valuable to us because we put on these events for you to help you to get you the information that you really need. So any feedback, both positive and negative, can help us only improve that. So if you have a moment, we would really appreciate you filling that out. And Alexi, Devika, thank you both so much for joining us today. It was a lot of information, a lot of really good information. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Of course. I look forward to having you both back at some point in 2024. And with that, I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your day and a fantastic rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.